Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to study another writer, Richard Wright. Let us begin with his biography. Richard Nathaniel Wright was born on September 4, 1908 and died on November 28, 1960. He was an American author of novels, short stories, poems, and non-fiction. Much of his literature concerned with racial themes, especially related to the plight of African Americans during the late 19th to mid 20th centuries, suffering discrimination and violence. His best known works include the novella collection Uncle Tom's Children, appeared 1938, and the novel Native Son, that appeared in 1940, and the memoir Black Boy, that appeared in 1945. Literary critics believe his work helped change race relations in the United States in the mid 20th century. Richard Nathaniel Wright was born on September 4, 1908 at Rucker's Plantation between the train town of Roxy and the larger river city of Natchez, Mississippi. He was the son of Nathan Wright. His father's name was Nathan Wright, a sharecropper, and Ella Wilson, a school teacher. His mother's name was Ella Wilson and father's name was Nathan Wright. His parents were born free after the Civil War. Both sets of his grandparents, both set means from his mother's side and from his father's side, had been born into slavery and freed as a result of the war, the Civil War. At the age of 15, while in 8th grade, Richard Wright published his first story, The Voodoo of Hell's Half Acre, in the local black newspaper named Southern Register. But no copies of his story, The Voodoo of Hell's Half Acre, survived. In chapter 7 of Black Boy, he describes a story about a villain who sought a widow's home. By 1935, Wright had completed the manuscript of his first novel, Cesspool, which was rejected by 8 publishers and published posthumously as Law Today, 1963. This work featured autobiographical anecdotes about working at a post office in Chicago during the Great Depression. In 1937, he became the Harlem editor of the Daily Worker. This assignment compiled quotes from interviews preceded by an introductory paragraph, thus allowing him time for thus pursuits like the publication of Uncle Tom's Children a year later. He worked on the Federal Writers Project Guidebook to the City New York Panorama, 1938, and wrote the book's essay on Harlem. Through the summer and fall, he wrote more than 200 articles for the Daily Worker and helped edit a short-lived literary magazine named New Challenge. The year was also a landmark for Wright because he met and developed a friendship with writer Ralph Ellison that would last for years, and their friendship lasted for years. He was awarded the Story magazine first prize of $500 for his short story Fire and Cloud. After receiving the Story Prize in early 1938, Wright shelved his manuscript of Law Today and dismissed his literary agent John Truxtun. He hired Paul Reynolds, a well-known agent of poet Paul Laurence Dunbar, to represent him. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, the story offered the publisher Harper all of Wright's prize entry stories for a book, and Harper agreed to publish the collection. Wright gained national attention for the collection of four short stories entitled Uncle Tom's Children that appeared in 1938. Richard Wright based some of his stories on lynching in Deep South. The publication and favorable reception of Uncle Tom's Children improved Wright's status with the Communist Party and enabled him to establish a reasonable degree of financial stability. He appointed to the he was appointed to the editorial board of New Masses. Granville Hicks, a prominent literary critic and communist sympathizer, introduced him to at leftist teas in Boston. By May 6, 1938, excellent sales had improved Wright with enough money to move to Harlem, where he began writing the novel Native Son, which was published in 1940. 12 Million Black Voices, a folk history of the Negroes in the United States, was published in October 1941 to wide critical acclaim. Wright's memoir, Black Boy, 1945, describes his early life from Roxy up until his move to Chicago at age of 19. It includes his clashes with his Seventh-day Adventist family, his troubles with white employers, and social isolation. It also describes his intellectual journey through these struggles. American Hunger, which was published in 1977, was originally intended by Wright as the second volume of Black Boy. The Library of America edition of 1991 finally restored the book to its original two-volume form. Wright died of heart attack in Paris on November 28, 1960, at the age of 52. He was interred in Père Lachaise Cemetery. Richard Wright's daughter Julia has claimed that her father was murdered. A number of Wright's work have been published posthumously. In addition, some of Wright's more shocking passages dealing with race, sex, politics were cut or omitted before original publication of works during his lifetime. In 1991, expurgated versions of Native Son, Black Boy, and his other works were published. In addition, in 1994, his novella Rite of Passage was published for the first time. In the last years of his life, Wright had become enamored of Japanese poetic form haiku. Haiku is a Japanese poetic form, and wrote more than 4,000 such short poems. In 1998, a book was published, Haiku, This Other World, in with 817 of his own favorite haiku. Many of these haiku poems have an uplifting quality even as they deal with coming to terms with loneliness, death, and the forces of nature. A collection of Wright's travel writings was published by the University Press of Mississippi in 2001. At his death, Wright left an unfinished book, A Father's Law, dealing with a black policeman and the son he suspected of murder. His daughter Julia Wright published A Father's Law in January 2008. An omnibus edition containing Wright's political work was published under the title Three Books from Exile, Black Power, The Color Curtain, and White Man Listen. Uncle Tom's Children, 1938. It is a collection of novellas. Eight Men, 1961. The Man Who Was Almost a Man Who Lived Underground. It is a truncated version. Big Black Man, The Man Who Saw the flood. Man of all work, man, God ain't that. The man who killed a shadow, the man who went to Chicago, 1991. It is a drama. And in drama, Native Son, the biography of a young American with Paul Green, 1941. The novels of Wright are Native Son, 1940, The Outsider, 1953, Savage Holiday, 1954, The Long Dream, 1958, Lord Today, 1963, Rite of Passage, 1994. It is a novella. A Father's Law, 2008. It is an unfinished novel. The Man Who Lived Underground. And in non-fiction of Wright, How Bigger Was Born, Notes of a Native Son, 1940. 12 Million Black Voices, A Folk History of the Negro in the United States, 1941. Black Boy, 1945. Black Power, 1954. The Color Curtain, 1956. Pagan Spain, 1957. Letters to Joe C. Brown, 1968. American Hunger, 1977. Conversation with Richard Wright, 1993. Black Power, 3 books from exile. Black Power, The Color Curtain, and White Man Listen, 2008. And in Essays of Wright, The Ethics of Living with Jim Crow, an autobiographical sketch, 1937. Introduction to Black Metropolis, A Study of Negro Life in the Northern City, 1945. I Choose Exile, 1951. White Man Listen, 1957. Blueprint for Negro Literature, 1937. The God That Failed, 1948. And his collection of haiku poems, Haiku, This Other World. So friends, that is all about the biography and works and career of Richard Wright. He was an American author. So we will meet in the next lecture with another writer. Till then, bye bye and thank you.